It began in the cold, fluorescent glare of a laboratory buried beneath the streets of Ban Nakhon, a crumbling Thai city known for its monsoon-flooded markets and the whispered legends of Phi Pop, hungry ghosts that gnaw on human entrails. Dr. Anong Vesarat, a molecular biologist with a reputation for dissecting the impossible, stood hunched over a stainless steel table, her latex gloves slick with a substance that defied classification. It wasn't blood. It wasn't mucus. It was black, iridescent, and alive, seeping from the pores of the creature her team had hauled up from a collapsed well near Wat Kraking, a 14th century temple where police had recently uncovered evidence of a butchered ASWANG cult. Their ritual tools, rusted daggers, clay bowls crusted with decades of dried blood, lay scattered in the dirt, but it was what they found beneath the altar that doomed the city. A pulsating sac, veined and translucent, throbbing like a heart ripped from a nightmare. The thing on the table was what hatched from that sac. At first, it resembled a giant leech, bloated and eyeless, its body a translucent tube writhing with shadowy organs that squirmed like eels trapped in gelatin. It had no face, no limbs, just a circular maw lined with concentric rings of needle teeth that spiraled inward, each tooth barbed and clicking against the others in a sound that made the lab technicians vomit into their masks. They named it Subject 77, a joke about the 76 failed specimens that had dissolved into puddles of acid before this one survived. But by day 3, the joke stopped. The creature began to adapt. It started with the steel. Dr. Anong's assistant, a twitchy grad student named Prem, noticed it first. The specimen's containment chamber, forged from reinforced titanium, had developed hairline cracks. Security footage later showed the creature pressing its gelatinous body against the walls, its teeth, now visibly larger, sharper, secreting a black fluid that ate through the metal like enzymes through flesh. By midnight, the cracks became fissures. Prem, foolishly peering through the observation window, screamed when the creature's maw suddenly unfolded, stretching into a flower-like void of teeth and muscle, and slammed against the glass. The impact left a spiderweb fracture, and in the reflection, Prem's face was a mask of primal terror. He quit the next morning. He would die 2 days later, his apartment reduced to a soup of dissolved concrete and half-digested bone. Evacuation orders came too late. The breach happened at 3:17 a.m. on March 15th, while the night shift guards played cards in the break room, unaware of the thing oozing through the vents above them. Subject 77 had learned to flatten its body into a membrane thin as plastic, slipping through gaps no larger than a coin. It dropped onto the table between the guards, its form rippling back into a mass of teeth and muscle, and before the first man could stand, it lunged. Security cameras captured it all, the creature wrapping around his head like a living latex mask, its teeth drilling through his eyeballs, burrowing into his brain. His partner emptied his pistol into the thing's body, but the bullets passed through its gelatinous flesh without leaving a mark. The last audio picked up wet, sucking sounds, the creature draining him, hollowing out his skull like a coconut, and a final gargled whisper. "It's learning." By dawn, the laboratory was a charnel house. Walls dripped with melted flesh. Computers had fused into metallic tumors. And Subject 77 was gone, retreating into the city's labyrinth of sewers, growing stronger with every victim it consumed. The first public attack was filmed by a tuk-tuk driver named Chai, who later posted the video to TikTok with the caption, Thai letter E 2A, Thai letter E 07, Thai letter E 2A, Thai letter E 31, Thai letter E22, Thai letter E1D, Thai letter E19, Chinese letter, Devil Rain. It showed his vehicle parked near the flooded slums of Ban Nak Han's river district, rain pounding the windshield as a black, tar-like substance bubbled up from a storm drain. The camera shook as Chai muttered, "What the hell is that?" Before the sludge erupted into a whip-like tendril, studded with eyeballs that bloomed like pustules in real time. The tendril sliced through the tuk-tuk's roof, dissolving metal and plastic on contact, and wrapped around Chai's arm. His screams peaked as the flesh melted off his bones, the creature's acidic embrace reducing his body to a red slurry slurped back into the drain. The video trended for 6 hours before the government scrubbed it from the internet. By then, it was too late. Panic spread faster than the creature itself. Families barricaded doors with furniture soaked in gasoline. Monks chanted blessings over loudspeakers. The military rolled in with flamethrowers, torching the sewers in great roaring gouts of fire that turned the city's canals into rivers of flame. For a few hours, the people of Ban Nak Han dared to hope. Then the rain came. Acid rain, black and stinking of rotten fruit, eating through rooftops and searing skin on contact. And from the flooded ruins, Subject 77 emerged transformed. It was no longer a mere monster. It was a cathedral of flesh. 20 feet tall, its body a grotesque collage of stolen anatomy. Human limbs fused at wrong angles, faces of its victims screaming silently from its quivering hide, all bound together by glistening tendons and that same black, acidic slime. It moved with a terrible intelligence, avoiding snipers' sights, learning from every attack. When soldiers fired missiles, it absorbed the explosions, its body momentarily cratered before regenerating, larger and hungrier. When they tried napalm, it fed on the flames, its slime igniting into a corona of blue fire that incinerated entire blocks. And when the blood moon rose, an orb of bruised crimson staining the sky, the creature sang, a sound like grinding glass and weeping children that shattered windows and drove anyone who heard it to claw out their own eardrums. The government's final stand took place at the ruins of the old clock tower, now a skeletal husk looming over the city's corpse. Tanks, drones, and desperate men with grenades surrounded the creature, their weapons pitiful against the abomination they'd created. A lieutenant named Kayat, helmet cam rolling, captured the moment Subject 77 revealed its cruelest trick. As rockets slammed into its chest, the creature didn't recoil. It split, fracturing into a dozen smaller copies of itself, each a squirming, tooth-filled horror that skittered into the shadows. The soldiers screamed, firing blindly, but the creatures were learning faster now. They swarmed a tank, dissolving its armor in seconds, and pulled the crew into a screaming, melting heap. Kayat's footage ends with a close-up of a soldier's face, half-dissolved, jawbone exposed, mouthing "Make it stop," before the camera melts. But the creature wasn't done. It was the blood moon, the old women whispered. The same moon that once guided the ASWANG cult's rituals had given the creature power. And as the lunar eclipse peaked, Subject 77 began to pulse, its body swelling and contracting like a diseased heart. Buildings collapsed as it expanded, streets buckling under its weight, until the entire city center was swallowed by its quivering mass. Those who survived described it as a mountain of screaming meat, a living tsunami of teeth and acid that dissolved everything in its path. The end came not from bullets, but from pain. A young engineer named Ploy, trapped in a basement with a handful of survivors, noticed something in the creature's behavior. Every time it regenerated, the faces in its flesh contorted in agony. It's hurting itself, she realized. The more it heals, the more it suffers. Her theory reached a rogue unit of soldiers who, in a last-ditch act of defiance, launched every remaining explosive into the creature's core. The resulting chain reaction didn't kill it, nothing could, but the creature's anguished shrieks split the sky, its body shrinking rapidly, as if recoiling from its own existence. By sunrise, it had dwindled to the size of a dog, its once glistening flesh now brittle and charred. With a final, gurgling hiss, it retreated into a storm drain, vanishing into the bowels of Ban Nakhon. The city, what remained of it, fell silent. But silence is not peace. In the months that followed, Ban Nakhon became a necropolis. The government erected a concrete wall around its perimeter, stamped with biohazard symbols and patrolled by drones. Those who escaped told stories of phantom growls echoing through the sewers, of black sludge bubbling up from shower drains in nearby towns. A documentary crew snuck into the ruins last October, capturing footage of a once bustling market now reduced to a warped sculpture of melted metal and bone. In one scene, an interviewer asks a former soldier, his face scarred by acid, if he believes the creature is truly gone. The man laughs, a hollow, broken sound. Gone, it's down there feasting, growing, and when the next blood moon comes, it'll finish what it started. The final clip, leaked on the dark web, claims to show Subject 77 current form. Shot in night vision, it slithers through a sewer tunnel, its body a hybrid of every horror it's ever consumed. Human hands grasping from its sides, a distended mouth filled with helicopter rotor blades and eyes, so many eyes, glowing like embers in the dark. The creature pauses, turns toward the camera, and for one heart-stopping frame, its teeth part in what might be a smile. Then the screen goes black.